Hey everyone, welcome, welcome. We're just going to take a couple minutes here as people are coming in. We're so excited to have you today. Thanks for joining us. Grab a drink, relax. We will just get started in a couple minutes. See a couple more of you coming in. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll get started in just a minute. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the HRIS for Resilient Public Agencies webinar, a live look inside the system. We are so excited to have you join us today. We will be talking about HRIS, of course, looking a little bit in the system, getting a demo, and just talking together about how we can stay resilient with those changes that are inevitable, having that constant and some resources to help us through those things. So we'll go ahead and jump in. You'll see two faces on the screen. The first one, I am Amy Harcourt. I am a product marketing manager here at NeoGov. I've been working with public sector technology and software for about 10 years now, but we do have Kimberly Wall with us as well today, and we will be hearing from her experience in the public sector. She is currently a senior sales engineer at NeoGov, but prior to NeoGov, she has 12 years in the public sector in HR roles. So, hey Kim, how are you doing today? Oh.
Microphone muted. I'm doing good, Amy. It is a bright, sunshiny day here in North Carolina. I'm grateful to be inside where the pollen's not getting to me. I'm looking forward to sharing some of my Neo nerd with the folks on our call today. You know, having used the talent management side of the system for 7.5 years and even going through a different HRIS implementation, I'm really excited to show them how NeoGov can continue the rest of that life cycle and bring everything HR related under one roof.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And just a quick note before we jump in, the GoToWebinar panel, there is a section that you can enter your questions as we're going through. So please, all questions welcome. There is no bad or dumb question. Anything you have as we're going, we will take some time at the end to answer those. And if we don't get to them, we'll still follow up. So please submit those as we're going through. We would love to hear from you. So first, we just want to get you thinking about where you're at today, what you're struggling with, or what you're here for. So of course, you are here at the webinar, you signed up, you're taking those steps to learn more and see how you can make your agency more efficient, what you can do. So thinking about what ways are we already streamlining processes, what's going well, and what can we do to kind of mirror that for other aspects of our agency. How could we maybe consolidate systems? So do we have some disjointed systems where it's taking more time than maybe it needs to? What can we consolidate? What's our most tedious process today? What's taking the most time, most resources? Is there any way we could streamline that? How can we contribute to our employee success? So what do they need to be successful? What are they expecting? How can we do anything to help? What can we do there in regards to HRIS? And how can we make more time for strategic tasks? So I'm sure you didn't come into the public sector, HR or finance, whatever position you're in, thinking, I want to enter data multiple times, or I want to do mundane tasks all day, you know? So how can we make time for those strategic tasks we really got into the field for? So first, we're going to just talk briefly about HRIS. What is it? Make sure we're all on the same page. And then we're going to jump into the product demonstration with Kim. She's going to walk us through, see how the system can really help with the different processes on a broad scale, but to help us with those real world examples. And then we will provide resources at the end. So you will get all these slides, the recording, and a couple other things to help you in your journey as you're looking for finding an HRIS for your agency, and we will take those questions at the end as we have time. So first, we do want to start with a poll question. So when it comes to HRIS related processes, what's the biggest agent of chaos today for you? So what's taking the most time, giving you the most headaches, whether it's personally or as an agency as a whole? What is it that's your biggest pain point, basically?
Yeah, Amy, you know, we're well into 2020s here, and I remember at my agency, we still had our print shop printing leave slips, pink paper leave slips, and we're having to route those around, and it's like, where is that leave slip at? Who signed off on it? Has it been signed off on? You know, it was kind of always this rabbit chase of where is that piece of paper? And also just which system do I sign in to get what done? So
Right.
you know, bringing things under one roof is obviously helpful too, but there's so much compliance when it comes to HR and finance processing, payroll processing. So having something that could simplify that or help, because I have such limited human resources doing all of this, it definitely created days of chaos where it always varied on which piece of those little bullet points there was the biggest chaos agent.
Gotcha. Yeah, it seems like a lot of people can relate. So we have, yeah, over half who chose paper forms and filing cabinets, that leave management, a couple for year-end processes and FLSA, and then reporting definitely factors in as well. So awesome. Thank you so much to those who participated. All right. So diving in, why invest in technology? So of course, there's a couple reasons it's a little different for every agency, but some of the main things we're hearing are those misplaced forms, those leave requests that Kim mentioned, disconnected systems. So whether it's a separate system for payroll, or I'm sorry, benefit enrollments and payroll, or timesheets, getting all your timesheets into payroll, whatever the case may be, just some disconnected systems that take a lot of time, inefficient processes, and then changing expectations. So whether it's those new employees who maybe they're younger or that's their first time coming in and they're just expecting some things that maybe you're not set up for yet, or just haven't come across yet. So it's just things are changing, of course, and as they do, keeping up with the technology to keep things on track is, of course, important.
Disconnect of systems means we need integrations, right, Amy? And integrations mean we have to get IT involved, and everybody needs IT. So those are big topics here.
Absolutely. Yep, and just to kind of bring that full circle, so why HRIS? It will consolidate that employee data for you. Instead of entering in as two multiple, you enter it into one system and it flows throughout. The public sector specifically, so having a system that is built for your needs with those nuances and different things, you need something that's configurable and also built for you out of the box. And then the self-service option, which I mentioned a little bit just before, on giving employees that access when they need it. So whether it's accessing their pay stubs or their W-2s for taxes, giving them that access that they need. So I will go ahead and pass it over to Kim. Give us one moment to figure out the technology here.
Amy and I's intention for the next 30 minutes is to really kind of introduce you to what it could look like to bring in those HRIS products, whether you have existing products with us or this would be your first product. Again, we want to just start to pique your interest and get your wheels turning on what that could look like. Certainly want to highlight where we can get rid of paper throughout the next little bit, since that was our top poll question response here. But this is our unified dashboard, right? And I'm going to go off camera, Amy, so that we have our screens front and center here. But unified dashboard is always going to continue to grow based upon whatever products you have with us. One login is existing for employee, manager, and administrator experience, where you're going to be able to toggle based on permissions here. But great examples of where our HRIS products are going to hit unified dashboard are more than just down the left-hand side. We're certainly going to talk about what time looks like here on the unified dashboard, but imagine being able to have additional quick actions, finding that most recent pay stub. We don't have to have paper pay stubs anymore. We're going to be able to give employees access to that right here within their unified dashboard. If we're needing to submit that electronic time off request, we can put those things that folks may be signing into the system to proactively look at right here in front and center. Now, when we think about once somebody's come into the system and they're an active employee, they're going to have changes and life happening, whether it's updating your email address, your phone number, all of that information is going to be able to be managed right here by the employee, where they can submit an update request to their address, their phone number, where we can also then kick off a personnel action so that it can go through an approval process. So while all of the systems are going to be connected and core HR really becomes that brain of the system, we're going to still be able to not only route around personnel actions specific to promotions, transfers, retirements, but also for things such as updating our address here, as well as adding contacts. So if I'm adding a spouse, if I'm adding a child, maybe we're updating someone else that may be a beneficiary, we're going to be able to manage it right here within this personal information tab within the unified dashboard, where we also maintain all of that history right here and at our fingertips. So I mean, Amy, if you needed an address from way back when and you had our system, they would be able to come in and find that old address right here inside the system without having to reach out to you or requesting to come in and view that paper personnel file. Now, in addition to this here, we're going to be able to also allow people that are a part of those approval workflows, whether it's for personal information or for an actual personnel action, to have right here within the unified dashboard access to those approvals. For our customers using us, reminder and overdue notices are kind of standard functionality, where again, if I'm a part of this approval workflow, I'll get this notice when this has been moved to me. I'm going to be able to see all of my approvers in this workflow. We're going to be able to see what was and what this person is asking to be right here in a side-by-side comparison, while also being able to see who initiated this, what type of change is it, what is that effective date and reason, but also being able to add comments and or attachments. So if we have anyone on the call that maybe looked at our products a year, 2 years ago, that was something that we didn't have. And based on that quarterly enhancement commitment that we have, this is one of those things that we do now support, so that if we have a comment or attachment, we're going to be able to add it here so that the next approvers has it there at their fingertips, and or for historical tracking here. Now, after we get people with their addresses, get them loaded in, benefits is one of the next big things we're going to work on, whether it's new hire enrollment or a open enrollment event that some of you may have just finished or are working towards. We're going to be able to manage that here. I, as the employee, very oftentimes couldn't remember which benefits I had in that January-February timeframe. So this would allow me to, when I select benefits, see all of those benefits that I'm currently enrolled in, who's covered under these benefits, as well as any of the individuals that are any of the rates and everything here. So keeping everything here front and center to remind us what those benefits are, but also being able to look back at what my benefits had been. So if we're like, I thought that I had this last year, or how much did I have in that FSA, we're going to be able to take a look back without having to reach out to that benefits contact and ask them to pull it, or find that old email or that piece of paper that we printed. Now, I made mention of our dependents beneficiaries when we were talking about core. You can see, again, because all of our modules are going to be kind of integrated or interconnected, we're going to be able to see those folks here and here from this perspective. What all do I have covered a lease for? Here we're going to be able to see she's got that medical as well as the dental, but we're also going to be able to kind of have notices of where we've had changes to see that this change request is in progress, where we'll get that notice once it's been approved. Open enrollment's huge though, right? So imagine being able to have employees have this open enrollment experience where it's going to be specific to their assignment. So in the event that you have certain people that have different benefits because of maybe a union, just know that the open enrollment experience is going to be specific to the assignment that they have. Where you're going to be able to highlight all the details here. You can include links to videos. You're going to be able to let them know when to get it done by, or pressure them with how much time do they have left. Amy knows me. That's what I'm paying attention to, is how long can I procrastinate before I have to get it done? But we're going to provide them with this kind of shopping cart experience. Now, this is going to likely look similar to some of what maybe you're having today, but to help with those disconnected systems, bringing everything under one roof. Here, we're going to be able to first just review that personal information, review the dependent beneficiary information, ensure that it's up to date, or initiate those change requests, where we're going to be walked through all of the different benefits that we're eligible for based on our assignment. This is one of the most simplistic and easy to understand open enroll experiences that I've ever went through. Being able to quickly and easily determine who am I wanting to cover under this medical plan, and then seeing the applicable plans and associated costs. But most importantly, it's not just what it's going to cost the employee. You're also able to bring to their attention how much you're investing in that benefit for them and or their family as well. We're going to be able to just walk through these different items across the top, where it's also going to highlight for them within the open enrollment experience exactly which benefits they're currently enrolled in. In the event they want to waive coverage, we do support waivers. So you can see all of this is here where they just simply proceed to next step, where we're going to continue to walk through these different types of benefits. We support multiple types of spending accounts. So FSAs, HSAs are all going to be able to be supported here, where we also have those other kind of cafeteria benefits, life, accidental death and dismemberment, long-term, short-term disability here. All of it's going to be here. If there's any component that's required for this, it's going to be highlighted. We do support EOI assessments here. Again, bringing everything inside this open enrollment and not having to manage it kind of outside or after. Where at the end of the day, we've been tracking our shopping cart. So if I had a goal of keeping my benefit deductions under $300, I'm going to be able to see what this is and could make real-time action changes. But where once we get to the end of our open enrollment experience, we're going to have this summary, ensuring that if there is anything missing, it's going to be able to be collected. So for those of you that have incomplete forms that you're having to push back, or they didn't have a beneficiary written on that paper form and having to send it back, imagine how much time you're going to get back in your day, because our product's going to be able to bring that to their attention before they come through and then do that final attestation right here within the unified dashboard, even highlighting again that summary of their investment in their benefits as well as your own. So no more having to hop on the phone, track things down. We're going to bring everything under one roof, have them digitally attest to it, and then move forward. Now, I oftentimes needed to talk to my spouse, or in my younger days, my mom, about some of my benefits, Amy. So imagine being able to work your way through this, but not submit it, because you're going to still be able to save this and pick right back up where you left off. Go home, have those conversations with those individuals that may be your mentors or your family members to make those informed decisions, but cut back in and pick right back up where you left off. And then last but not least here, open enrollment or life events. So outside of open enrollment, this is where we are going to be able to come in and allow employees to initiate a life event. There's no limit to the number of life events that can be created, but where you can see once it's initiated, you can also require them to upload documentation. So in the event that we're going to have or we've had a child, we can require that, but also employees have visibility into whether this has been finally approved or not, as well as any of the history here as well. Now, staying here under this kind of employee and or manager experience before we take a look at those admin dashboards, some of you probably saw this digital time clock and got excited. So what I want you to know is that we have a multitude of ways that time can be tracked inside of our system. We can do an exception-based payroll, maybe for those exempt people. We can allow people to do mobile punches. We do have a mobile app that's available in the Apple and the Android store, as well as you can do web punches. We do have a partner for physical time clocks. If that's something that you would still need, we can support that, but where that information would flow into the timesheet here. But for those of us that would want to kind of clock in right here through Unified Dashboard, you're going to be able to have that here. Now, when we bring HRIS into the scope, we are going to be able to support multiple assignments. So in my time in public sector, I worked in human resources, but I also would go and work with our Board of Elections department at one-stop voting, and that was a different pay rate than my HR rate. So that's one of the many examples where you can have multiple assignments and then we can clock in. Seasonal employees is another one. When we think about those camp counselors, lifeguards, you'd be able to have different job assignments for them, even different time codes that can be supported, as well as cost centers. So when we're thinking about those different cost centers, the GL strings associated to it, we're going to be able to do assignment codes and cost centers to ensure that all this information is being tracked and allocated appropriately. Now those punches are going to log into our timesheet here, where we're tracking all that individual time. If we don't want to use that web app, you can also allow employees to just come in and hand key in time. You can also come in and track all those clock punches. If you're like, how do we know you did or didn't? You can see that here. Employees are going to have real-time access to their leave balances right here within their timesheet. Even being able to add comments within it. So maybe I was 10 minutes late and it was because we got stopped by that train that comes through at 7:55. I'm going to be able to, as an employee, put a comment to my manager just to remind them as to why I was late that day. If any of you on the call allow your employees to convert or determine how they want to convert their overtime, we do support the ability to do that. If your agency doesn't, don't worry. It's just one of the many tools in your tool belt that would be available to you. But here it's just as easy for an employee to come in and to determine what's converted, what's banked, and what's remaining. And then employees will look at those previous timesheets. They're going to be able to submit the timesheets to their time approver, where they would be able to see unapproved means the employee's given it to me, and as a manager, I'm able to open it up, review their timesheet based on permissions, make edits, add comments myself, and then get this submitted over to the time and attendance folks. They're going to be able to manage their team's timesheets here, whether it's direct and or indirect reports, at a very quick and easy fashion. No more checklists, Amy, of whose do I have, who am I missing? It's going to be just displayed for them right here as soon as they pop onto this tab. Time off. No more paper, pink paper slips here, Amy. Employees are going to be able to come in and request time off, where we're going to have workflow approvals, just like we mentioned about the personnel actions. So if I decide that I want to come in and take some vacation time, once I select that leave bank code, you can see that it updates not only my current balance, but also any already planned time off. Enter that start end date. We're going to be able to apply an additional reason here, and then we can also do attachments. So if it was jury duty and we need a copy of the summons, we're going to be able to attach that here, or that would also route around for approval for the manager's review. Here's where employees can check that leave bank. How much time did we start with? How much have we earned, taken, and what that current balance is. It's also important to note here that we can cascade leave balances. So if your policy states that you can take your FMLA time but also draw down from sick, that is 100% supported in our system. And being built for the public sector, we know that's a very common need across our customer base. Another enhancement that came out last year is the ability to set up leave donation banks and the ability for employees to request to pull time from that donated bank. So if that's something that's interesting to you, or you have seen this in the past and that was a gap, we've got that gap filled in for you now. My team's time off, we can look at it from a calendar perspective, or we can look at it from a list perspective where we can see those digital time off requests, review and approve them, but also keep an eye on our team's balances here to make sure that we're not, approaching too low of the leave balance. And certainly here, last but not least, as we wrap up what it looks like from the employee manager side, pay is always a big point. This is where the employee is going to be able to go to CarMax on a Sunday and pull down their pay stubs to trade in that minivan for the Mustang that they're looking for. Or in the event that they're going to their tax provider and they're going to get their taxes worked on at that accountant, they're going to be able to come in here and view their pay stubs by year, but also at a very granular level. So here we have the hours worked, our tax breakdown, our deductions, our contributions, where we can also download a branded pay stub where there is some configurability around what it is that you want to show on that, but we get a nice little pretty pay stub here. Employees are going to be able to update their direct deposit here. So with the ability to have multiple accounts, you can do dollar amounts, you can do percentages, and then throw the rest into a remaining account, but where there's also approvals here as well. So you don't, you're not 30 seconds away from submitting payroll. Someone makes a change unbeknownst to you, and then that impacts your payroll. We're going to be able to have those safeguards in place to ensure that those changes can be requested and approved and therefore applied as needed within your payroll process. And then here we're also maintaining those federal and state withholding tax forms. We can support multiple state tax forms. So for those of you near the border, maybe you live and work in two different states, just know that we can support multiple state here as well. And then of course our state tax forms. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about this little thing called payroll services at the end of our time in the demo section of our call, but this is where employees would have the ability to come in and pull those W-2s down for their duration of time without having to find that email, log into a different account, a different password, again, bringing everything kind of back home, if you will. Now, one thing that I did not highlight, but I want to come back to, that is our most recent release, total compensation. If you are, if your agency includes payroll with core HR, then we do have the ability to produce total compensation statements for your employees. This is where you're going to be able to allow them to look at it from a year to date or for prior years back, but what is not only the investment that they're getting from an income perspective, but also a benefits perspective. Public sector stands out when it comes to benefits. So while we've made great strides when it comes to compensation or are making those efforts now, we can still continue to highlight for them how valuable our benefit package is. So let's take us a quick peek here in about the next 5 to 7 minutes here, Amy, on the admin side, and then also take a look at some reporting and analytics. This dashboard makes it easy for an admin to have that bird's eye view on what's happening within the core HR section. I mentioned that core HR is that brain of the system. This is where we house all your departments, divisions, positions, assignments, everything, all those core data tables, and then the ability to route around those personnel changes based on those different workflows that are established. In the event that an employee did request that change for personal information in the unified dashboard, you can see admins have visibility into that, but also where they may be sitting in the different steps and stages. Admins also have visibility into total comp across the entire agency or the ability to look by employee. Quick actions here front and center. Because we're going to maintain your FTE with the ability to choose whether you can exceed or override the FTE, we can call that out for you within our little budget widget here, making it easy to see where we may have overages. But without even having to run one of these many standard reports that we have available for you, we've got that most important information front and center. Now, also want to quickly highlight for you here, this is Employee Central. Everything that we need to know about this employee is going from this HRIS side is going to be here and available to us. So gone is the day of having to switch over even in between benefits and time and payroll. Here for Brandon, we're going to be able to not only see his primary and or multiple assignments, we're going to be able to keep track of his different employment dates. We have visibility into his personal address, phone number, his contacts, but we also have quick and easy access to all of his payroll history, his benefits enrollments, time off balances. Everything is right here. You don't even have to navigate between these HRIS projects or products to see what's happening with individual employees throughout them. We are going to be able to support mass wage changes. So for all of you that are going through COLAs or are using scales and steps, all of that's going to be standardly supported inside of our system where we have a plethora of reporting that's also going to give you the ability to keep an eye on what's happening when and where. So let's take a look as a benefits administrator here quickly, our benefits part. So if you've ever went through an open enrollment experience, my particular county had about 2,200 employees. It's a very large agency, but even with 45, knowing who's done what and how far along they are in that open enrollment experience is something that can take time in manual tracking or keeping it on a spreadsheet. With our benefits module here on this main admin dashboard, as you can see, any and all open enrollment events are here in front and center, where you're able to see again how far along these people are in the different steps and stages. So if we open up this annual open enrollment, it's easy for us to see who's started, who's not started, who's submitted, but even if they've made some progress within that widget, with the ability to create new events, send reminders, and or restart someone's. Embarrassingly enough here, Amy, one time I had messed up my open enrollment so badly, I had to ask my Ben admin, can you just like reset me so that I can have a fresh start? So in the event any of you think that that might be something that's helpful, just know you'll be able to have that at your disposal here as well. Now, we also do support EDI feeds to your vendors. So in the event that it'd be helpful for once this open enrollment is done, you're looking to automate the feed over and back to your vendors, just know that that's something that we're going to be able to support for you here as well, taking that manual effort off of your benefits teams here as well. Time and attendance. So I made mention of the fact that we have multiple types of timekeeping methods. We looked at it where a manager was able to see unsubmitted and unapproved timesheets. Admins have that same bird's eye view here too. So again, with our widgets and our staged color tags here, how many employees have not submitted their timesheet to their manager? How many managers are still sitting with timesheets on their desk, quote unquote? Or how many do I have or have I sent over to the payroll module? You can bulk generate your timesheets. You're able to send your timesheets to payroll directly from this dashboard. Maybe your sheriff's office or police department is using a different system. And so your bulk of your agency is in time and attendance. You can import in time entries here, package it all up together, and then push it over to payroll. If you're not using us for payroll, you can use us for time and attendance, but then also get a CSV file to then import that into your payroll system. So there's several different combinations that we can continue to dig in with you, after this webinar to talk about what are those supported combinations of the 4 products that we're talking about today. Quite a plethora of reports again here as well, with the ability to do all of this configuration through that train the trainer approach that we have during implementation. We'll always be here to help, but you're also able to run with making changes on the fly as needed, because we are built for those HR professionals managing the system here. So payroll here, last but certainly not least, we have added personal contact information, completed open enrollments. We filled out our timesheets with all those time codes and cost centers, and now we've pushed this over and into payroll. We do support the ability to have multiple batches. We can support retro pay batches, where we kind of give you this simple checklist of what needs to get done before your payroll is complete. We're going to be able to come into this payroll and view those time entries if needed, but also see what's happening inside of this payroll. Breakdown here is front and center. You're able to determine which way you would like to sort this. We have some of those key filters that our payroll professionals are coming in and trying to look for red flags for. Why is there a gross pay for someone? Terminated employees, making sure that final check is calculating correctly. For our new hires, did all their benefit deductions come in as expected? It's very easy to come in and filter. You're also going to be able to come in and manage details within the pay line. So here for Diane, we're able to see kind of what her breakdown of tax deductions are. We're going to be able to look at her gross versus net, where you can see there is an edit earnings button that's available to users with appropriate permissions, but where we do have audit trails. What's happening with her taxes, her deductions, employer taxes and deductions, but also accruals right here. Bringing everything into the payroll that could be most important to that payroll reviewer without having to bounce in and around to multiple screens or losing where they're at. You can recalculate individual lines, or you can recalculate the entire payroll. In the event there was certain pay lines that needed to be imported, that can also be supported here as well, with, again, a plethora of reports. Now, we haven't mentioned budgeting, and that's because we do not have a budgeting system, but we certainly have people using all 4 of these modules. We support the ability to also export out those final details over and into a format for your GL so that we can still settle out your GL post payroll. So no worries there. We've got folks using a plethora of other systems for budgeting where we're able to deliver them that file to import into that budgeting system to keep all those payroll transactions, journal entries up to date and current. Now, our analytics and reporting has had a lot of enhancements recently. My favorite is the fact that you can have favorites, Amy. No more having to search through and remember which report it was that we wanted. You're going to be able to have all of those favorites right here in front and center, copy existing reports, add widgets, and most importantly, create custom dashboards. These dashboards can be a true game changer about bringing the information that's most important to your agency front and center. Can have one specific to just benefits. So here we can see how many people are enrolled in these different types of deductions or different coverage types and dates. You're going to be able to get that active employee count. I can't tell you how many times I would get a question about what's our active employee count right now. Imagine just having a dashboard that people could come into and look at that, whether it's your commissioners, your board, department heads, breakdown by department, FLSA reporting, wage rate reporting, all of that's going to be able to be right here in front and center for you. You can even combine recruiting data and core data into one dashboard with the ability to keep these private. You can share these. You can even create a dashboard full of the reports that are important for those boards and then export it to PDF and take it into that board meeting. Now, that's going to conclude this quick introduction to what it could look like for you to start using our HRIS products. I hope that that was helpful to get some ideas turning or show you some ways that we can get rid of those paper forms for you, but also keep track of where things are and give you some time back in your day. Now, the last thing Amy and I want to kind of share with you here is what we call payroll services. Payroll doesn't end just because the employee got their check. We have ACH processing that needs to happen, garnishment, vendor payments. Let's talk about how much time it may take you for those quarterly tax filings, getting the data, validating the data, importing the data, and then of course those year-end items that we all just went through. Payroll services is going to give your payroll teams time back in their day to focus on those other kind of big fish tasks, as Amy had made mention of, gaining you efficiency, but giving you time to really focus in on those things that may need more attention. And you're certainly going to be able to get some time back because this is something that can be a big game changer for a lot of agencies that have always been doing this on paper here, Amy. And then certainly last but not least, before we get ready for another poll question, the mobile app. As I made mention, we do have the mobile app. Some of the HRIS related tasks that are going to be available are going to be things like accessing their pay stub, viewing their current benefits, or initiating that qualifying life event, requesting time off, clocking in and out. Think about my tax appraisers. Think about social workers in and around the field. Your facilities people, they don't know whose AC unit's going to be broke right now, now that it's starting to warm up. So where do we go to be able to get that? Oh, did my screen share change, Amy? No,
Yeah, I'm not seeing it.
Okay, hold on. It's still saying 3.
Here,
Oh, there we go. Is it back now? Now we're seeing it. Did you see the payroll services slide? Should I back up? Okay.
Nope, that was good. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that technology. But this is, again, clocking in, clocking out. You think about those people that are out on the road and you never know exactly where they're going to start their day, end their day, or have to go out. That can be helpful. Updating those direct deposit pieces as well as kind of doing those changes. If not everybody needs to have the mobile app, you can configure by department who can use the mobile app. If it's a view only in the mobile app, there's a lot of things that can be configured in there as well. Amy, anything that I missed or that we wanted to highlight there before we head into this poll question?
No, that was perfect. Thank you so much, Kim. We actually got a ton of questions, so I'm gonna keep moving it forward so we can get to some of those. But thank you so much for showing us all of that. That was a wonderful overview. But as you know, HRIS is a large system. Every agency has unique needs. So we have this poll question to kind of help if anyone already feels like, oh, I have so many questions, I just want to meet with someone to get them answered quick, or you're interested in pricing, or you want to see it and get your agency specific questions answered. Feel free to click yes on that poll, and we will have someone from our team reach out and give you a call. So we'll just take a minute for everyone to go ahead and submit their answers there. All right, perfect. Okay, and then moving on to the next slide, Kim. So the takeaways today, we will send you an email. It will likely come tomorrow, so keep an eye out for it. But we will provide you with a case study of one of our customers who's using the NeoGov's HRIS on the changes they've seen and benefits they've seen. We also will send you a 68 questions that you could potentially include in a RFP, or even if you don't need to do an RFP, go through the RFP process. It just helps to, as you're looking through 8 different HRIS solutions, to think about, what's most important to your agency and what is required for you. We will, of course, provide the SHRM code in that email for all the attendees, and then a copy of these webinar slides and the recording. But of course, if you need anything else, definitely feel free to reach out. You can go to our website, give us a call. But then the last thing is just questions. So if you can go to the next slide, Kim, and I will ask you some, but we did get a lot, so we're definitely not going to get to all of them today. We will follow up with you.
Any trends, any hot topics, Amy?
What did you say?
I said, were there any trends or hot topics in the comments?
Well, one was about approval levels. I see there's some about position. So, so when you, it says when you reject, does it go back through each approval level again? I'm assuming this is for all approvals for the personnel actions, but is there any specifics you need to clarify, Kim?
Yeah, there's an option to send it back. There's an option to like overall deny it. So there is kind of not just one size fits all when it comes to a denial. So there's multiple options that you'd be able to kind of set up or utilize there.
Okay, perfect. And then another question, will this benefit information flow to payroll? Is there a way to review a report to ensure accuracy?
Absolutely. We're going to take their assignment from core HR, their benefits deductions that they're open enrolled in, their time that they've reported, and package all of that together and submit all of it to payroll. So if I have that qualifying life event and I have a change and I now have a new child deduction that needs to come out, all of these modules are integrated together.
Awesome, thank you. Can we do benefit bundling, meaning vision and dental must be chosen together? They cannot choose one or the other. Is it either, both, or none for department or dependents? Employees cannot waive for themselves.
There's a lot of configurability in that one, Amy. That one would probably be a longer answer than we have enough time to dig into, but there's definitely some option in there. Like there's no limit to the number of benefit plans that you have. You label them, tag them, define them, describe them to meet your agency's need. It's not like we only give you 15 options and you have to make that work.
Mm-hmm. Okay, gotcha. Are all of these features included in the software, or are some of them custom or add-ons?
So we like to use the word configuration, right, Amy? Because our systems are highly configurable. Everything that you saw today comes standard with the product. When we think about HRIS products and what I would say additional costs, we typically do a certain number of EDI feeds. If you need additional ones, there may be some cost associated. That's part of what we scope out during discovery, and pre-implementation. Payroll services is optional. Some people want it, some people don't. Again, it's at your discretion on whether you would want it. And of course, there's always different types of data integrations. We think about those GL exports. Some systems may be more complex than others. Those are conversations that we have and that we scope out, but functionality seen today is all standardly available, not additional cost.
Awesome, thank you. Does the cost center field have a drop down, or does it need to be keyed in by the employee?
There's a drop down. So when we were looking at the like the mobile clock in, and that we got the third one that was cost center, there was a list there that had the code and the description. They wouldn't see every cost center available to the agency. They would see the cost center specifically available to their assignment that they're clocking in for. So if you think about across a large agency, there could be hundreds, but mine, I might only have 5, or I might only have 2. So they don't have to thumb through all of them. They would just see the ones that were applicable to them.
Perfect. If we have onboard, how does a new hire work?
Great question. So Insight flows over and into pre-board, because our onboard module has pre-board, onboard, and offboard. We have 3 very specific forms that we're going to utilize as a part of a pre-board checklist: personal information, emergency contact, and then if we have payroll, direct deposit. So those forms are filled out as part of that pre-board process, where once everything's good to go, you then send that information over to core HR, where it establishes that initial employee record from that point moving forward. We can even do where we auto pull the next available employee ID number out of core and into onboard to do that auto assignment of the next available employee ID number.
Awesome, thank you. Does NeoGov work with state-specific leaves like paid leave Oregon?
So there you have the ability to create your own leave types. So you can create that state specific leave. At my agency, we got one wellness day a month to just have a day off that wasn't kind of, categorized one way or another. So yeah, you'll be able to have state specific leaves, agency specific leaves. There's no limit to the types of leave that can be established in our system.
Okay. It looks like, yeah, we had a couple questions about leaves. This is similar. Do we have anything about the leaves? See if they are eligible for FMLA, CFRA, PDL, send the different forms, posters.
So yeah, we don't do FMLA administration. We can support the leave banks, right? We don't do COBRA administration. We can track if someone's out on leave. They can, have an action putting them on FMLA or on FMLI, right? Where we do or don't stop their accruals, all those kinds of things. But the production of the forms and all of that is not something housed inside the system. You would still manage those forms kind of outside.
Gotcha. Perfect. And then I believe this is talking about payroll services. So I think we answered this, but does NeoGov provide a payroll as a service provider? That would.
So I probably have a clarifying question on that one. If the intention of that question is there someone else? Yeah, if whoever asked that question can give me a follow-up. Are you looking for someone else to do the payments or like print paper checks? We need to know a little bit more information there.
Okay. Can mobile clock in or out be disabled? Is there a capability to have a time clock tablet for certain groups to clock in and out on site?
Yes. So let's pretend I'm an exempt employee. If I'm an exempt employee that my time just populates, Amy, I don't have to have that widget on the dashboard. So it doesn't have to be available to everybody.
Okay.
But we do have a partnership with CMI time clocks that can provide physical time clocks. There is an additional cost per time clock, but once you buy them, they're yours forever. If you've already got CMI time clocks, you could bring them with you per se. But where we can do badge scanning, biometric scanning, punch in your ID number, and where just like the mobile or the widget on the dashboard or the mobile app, it would pull that into their timesheet for their review and then attestation.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm just reading through a couple more.
One quick mention while you're looking at that, because we talked about the connection to onboard. When you terminate someone in Core HR, because that really becomes your product of record, you're going to be able to initiate offboarding out of Core HR as well. So you'd be able to put that little checkbox. So for those of you that would be using offboarding as well, Core HR can kick off that initiation of that offboarding checklist for you too.
Perfect. So the question, I assume that you can have different open enrollment periods for different benefits. For example, health may be October to December, disability may be March to April.
Yep, you can have, there's no limit to the number of open enrollments that you can have, where you pick and choose the benefits that are a part of that open enrollment.
Okay, awesome. It says, how does NeoGov have the data? Do we import the data from our HRIS or does NeoGov now act as the HRIS?
So that's a lot to unpack. So yeah. What I would tell you is you can have, if you have us for any of the products we've talked about, Core HR is a required module. You can have Core HR in time. You can have Core HR and benefits. If we're going to have payroll, we have to have benefits. There's a couple dependencies, right? But we typically will become your system of record, Core HR, that is, for your employees, departments, divisions, positions, all of that. Now, because we're not budgeting, but we can have GL strings in certain areas of the system, that's where we work with you to have like an integration, pushing out post payroll, that kind of thing. So Core HR really does kind of become your system of record. It would just be that the budgeting component would live somewhere else because we don't have that.
Perfect, thank you. Can you create multiple schedules for timekeeping purposes?
Yeah, so you've got your Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. If you've got fire, you've got police. I forget, is it like the 980 dispatchers that are working 12-hour shifts? The pay period could roll over in the middle of the night, but I work 7P to 7A. We need to split that between 2 different time periods. All of that can be supported. Absolutely.
Awesome. Can you turn off specific areas of the personal info tab, limiting the changes employees can submit?
Employees would only be able to submit changes to like their address, their phone number, their personal email address. They would not be able to make changes to their position, their salary, or any of that assignment detail,
Okay, gotcha.
if that was the concern.
Okay, yeah, if there's any clarification, feel free to submit. But we are coming up on time. I see a couple people heading out, so I think we will do maybe one more and wrap up. Okay, help me out with this one. We take it to submitting the timesheet to payroll, but NeoGov takes it from there and doing all the payroll processing. Does that make sense to you? Or
So the timesheets can push to payroll. We can review the payroll batch, like where we had the widget and we were looking at everybody's independent things. And then typically, I believe we would want to have that file submitted to the bank 48 hours before like the paid time, but then where we do those disbursements and everything on your behalf. Part of the implementation is we'd set up those bank accounts that it's pulling from and all of that. So I think that's what the intention of that question is.
Okay, that sounds right. Cool. All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Kim, for answering all those questions. And thank you all for submitting and joining us today and taking the time to be with us. We are thrilled to be with you today, and we hope you join us for another webinar. But we'll follow up with the remaining questions. If you need anything else, definitely don't hesitate to reach out. But everyone, have a great day. Thank you.